Thou Garden. I'd like to welcome you this evening to the lecture on what is the best diet for me, an introduction to the healthiest diet in the world. And again, we'll cover some of the things that are discussed in the handout I gave to you concerning the health questionnaire and what's true and what's not. Now, there are many, many diets out there, many ideas out there. There's just, though, I mean, the sky's the limit. As there are people, there is these dietary ideas that people are pushing. Some of these ideas are for religious reasons. Like, for example, I'm Jewish. I do not eat pork and shrimp. I will not eat pork and shrimp. Not because it's bad for me, but because it is a rabbinical law. There are people who are Muslims who also have similar restrictions. There are Hindus that have restrictions on diet. There are people who have also social beliefs. For example, they don't think that eating meat is socially responsible, so they don't want to support that type of growth because of the perception that growing a cow is takes a lot more energy than to say grow corn and such. There's also people who are following certain diets because they believe they are good for your health. And we're going to touch upon some of those. Some of those are not true. Some of those are based on myths or not physiologically supported evidence. And others will have a particular diet because they have a particular illness. Something is wrong with them, so they heard that a particular diet is good for them. And in many cases, it is correct. It's good to alter your diet when you have a particular illness. But again, we're going to talk about a general diet that's a good guideline for everyone. Some diets are based on lots of good research, on science. They make sense. They're physiologically sound. That's what happens to the body if you do A, B, C. And some of them are based upon myths that people look upon at face value and say, well, yeah, that makes sense, but in reality, it's not what happens to the body at a physiological level. Okay? Oh, and the final thing was the environment. You know, for example, people who live in a climate that isn't known for tropical fruits. Somebody that lives near the North Pole wouldn't be enjoying papaya every day. Okay, whereas somebody from Thailand, like we are, is enjoying such a thing. So some of it is environmental. So what is right and what is wrong? Well, the best answer is there is no right and there is no wrong, generally. Okay, if the diet is following a traditional idea, in other words, whole grains, whole foods, natural products, these type of things, nothing that's processed or altered, in most cases, it is not wrong. It is okay. If it makes you happy, and that's one of the things I'll talk about also, is that people are killing themselves over worrying about what to eat. And that's idiotic. That's dumb. You shouldn't be worrying about giving yourself an ulcer over what to eat. You should be happy about what you're eating, feel good about what you're eating, and if you don't feel good about what you're eating, don't put it in your mouth. It's a very simple thing. So, the wrongs come from modern thinking or fads that claim a base in science, physiology, or following a traditional idea. For example, there is this false notion that a juice fast is an ancient way of fasting. That is a blatant lie. Juice fasting is not an ancient way of fasting. It is a modern way of fasting. And by the way, it doesn't work. Okay? And now there are a lot of doctors out there who will disagree with me, and if they were here, they'd probably start yelling at me trying to kill me. Okay? Maybe they should juice fast a little more, right? The fact of the matter is, back in the day when we lived in caves and chewed on rocks and ran away from tigers and all that, we didn't juice fast. Okay? We didn't juice anything. All right? You ate fruit. You didn't juice it because you'd have to think like let's say somebody, in caveman day, if somebody had an apple, how are they going to juice the thing to begin with? There wasn't any little blenders running around, so there was none of that going on. Now, did people fast back in ancient days? Absolutely. They fasted for religious reasons, for spiritual reasons. The shaman would tell them don't eat for so many days or whatever, and they would maybe drink water and have some other type of herbal tea or something that they put together, but there was no juice fasting back then. So that as part of a diet, as a traditional diet, is based on pure nonsense. Pure nonsense. Okay? So basically, also, any part of a diet taken to an extreme is wrong. Anything in an extreme is wrong. Okay? It's just, there's nonsense. The Chinese have the saying, everything in moderation. And then they say, even moderation. So once in a while you get crazy and get wild, all right? So it's okay. Jack LaLanne was very good about it. I read an article. A newspaper reporter asked him, so, you know, you're an Ironman at 92 or whatever. You know, he's swimming with 50 boats tied around his neck across the San Francisco Bay with sharks in wintertime or something. You know, something crazy like that. And he says, you promote all this health and all this wellness, but you know, last night, what did you eat? And he said, I had a hamburger and a milkshake. And he says, yeah, so what's up with that? He goes, well, 6 days a week, I'm actually walking the walk or talking the talk or whatever. You know, he says, I'm doing what I'm telling everyone to do. He goes, but I also tell everybody you got to enjoy life. And he goes, and I happen to like a hamburger and a milkshake once a week. And look at him, he's strong. He probably come here and beat me up right now, right? So he's taking the term, everything in moderation, even moderation, he's living it. So, your personal dietary choices should be based upon how you feel currently. All right? So, if you're sick, you should be modifying your diet to meet the illness. Like, for example, if you're not feeling well, if you have a common cold, your dietary intake should be very limited. Welcome. And you should be really limiting the things that you eat when you have a cold, a common cold. Just like if you're feeling great, you know, you can eat a lot of stuff and you will still feel great. So, nothing should be consumed, therefore, no diet should be constant unless you are. So if your health is constant, then your diet can remain constant. There's no need to modify anything, right? If you find a diet that works for you well, and you are healthy, and staying very fit and not having any problems, then you can pretty much keep it that way. But again, if you develop a disease pattern, you should be modifying. Another example is, for example, with Chinese herbs or commonly used Chinese herbs. Those are herbs. Has everyone heard of ginseng? I think everybody has, right? Well, ginseng is used because, you know, a lot of young people, they want to use it to stay awake, increase energy, increase sexual performance, and such. However, ginseng has no use in somebody below the age of 40, 45, especially men. Men shouldn't be taking ginseng unless they're at that age, unless there's a disease pattern. So, for example, if you have a disease that, according to Chinese medicine, says that you should take ginseng, then you should be drinking ginseng tea. But if you're just drinking it just because you want extra energy and you don't have really any problems, besides you may be a little tired, it's not the herb indicated for you. You shouldn't be taking it. Okay? All right. So, there's also the idea that you shouldn't consume foods out of their normal growing season. Now, because of agribusiness, you can get watermelon even when there's snow on the ground. Okay? But watermelon doesn't normally grow in the wintertime. Okay? So you should be mindful of foods that are grown according to the season in which you're in. Okay, so wintertime, you should be eating foods that grow predominantly in the wintertime, and in the summertime, foods that grow predominantly in the summertime. This makes sense, okay? Now, so we have all these like general ideas. Again, there's not one perfect diet, but is there a guide? Is there a diet that we should look to as guidance to help us make decisions? And there is. There is a single diet that has been proven. It is scientific. It is easy to employ. It is traditional, by the way. It's nothing space age or anything new age or whatever they call, shamanistic or something like that. It is pretty in the middle of the road, conservative, Republican, or Democrat or whatever, right? Everybody can enjoy it, okay? It allows you for modifications based upon your religious or social convictions. So in other words, if you believe it's socially irresponsible to consume meat, you can still follow this diet. If you are like me that thinks a cow needs to be killed and eaten, then you can do that too. Again, for religious reasons, the diet, actually the diet which this follows has pork in it, but I've never eaten pork in my life, at least not that I'm aware of. And it'll still give you tremendous benefits, and it can be modified for serious illnesses also. But again, if you have a serious illness like cancer, then you would look at even a more stricter diet or a stricter aspect of this diet. So what is it? Well, first, it isn't what it isn't. It is not a fad. In other words, here today, gone tomorrow, or other baseless dietary idea. For example, food combining. Food combining is nonsense. It is not true. Eating meat with fruit will not destroy your digestion. eating a protein with a carbohydrate is not bad for you. That is nonsense. Your body makes